Future of Money, Governance, and the Law is hosted by the Government Blockchain Association, a worldwide community to connect, communicate, and collaborate. This show is produced by Podtex. To learn more and how to host your own show, go to www.podtex.com. Podtechs. Podtex, your partners in podcasting.
Hi, my name is Gerard Daché. I'm the Executive Director of the Government Blockchain Association, and I'd like to welcome David Auton to our podcast, The Future of Money, Governance, and the Law. David is a Managing Director for Morpheus Analytics. I've had the pleasure to engage with him over the last couple months, and Morpheus Analytics is just a phenomenal outfit where they collect data on the blockchain and the cryptocurrency space. I'll let him tell you a little bit about it, but David, welcome to the program, and tell our listeners a little bit about who you are and Morpheus Analytics.
Thanks, Gerard. Great to be on here. Look, a bit about Morpheus Analytics. We have been around since 2016. We initially started in the venture capital space before branching out into looking into cryptocurrency and blockchain. Looking into cryptocurrency and blockchain was initially it was just a branch of interest for us. The more we looked at it, the more we followed the rabbit hole, and the more certain we became that crypto and blockchain was a technology that was here to stay.
But let me pause you just for a second. So you said we. So tell us a little bit about who the other part of we is.
Will do. So there's a couple of people that make up Morpheus Analytics, but there's myself, Managing Director, and Michael Hamilton, who is the Head of Research for Morpheus. So, okay,
and then you guys were doing something. You guys were doing something else before you got in the cryptocurrency space. Was that research in investments or?
Yeah, we're doing research into venture capital investments, and to cut a long story short, we looked at all of the various opportunities, and blockchain turned out to be the very best opportunity that we saw. So we decided to just focus on that.
So walk me through the first time you encountered cryptocurrency, blockchain, and when you had that aha moment and you said there's something here.
Yeah, sure. Look, I started seeing articles surrounding Bitcoin in the news. I'd heard about Bitcoin and blockchain for many years, and had kind of thought about the idea of investing in the space. But where it really started piquing my interest was in 2016. This was around the time when quantitative easing was a pretty huge thing from the Fed's perspective. And I started looking at Bitcoin as a kind of hedge to inflation.
David, I have to tell you that the first time I encountered Bitcoin was when I realized that my son bought a couple dollars worth of Bitcoin, and when he sold them, he paid for a car, a motorcycle, his living expenses, and his college tuition, and it kind of got my attention, right? So I think we've all had that kind of moment. So what then took you from the point seeing a couple articles and the hedge on inflation? What happened next?
Yeah, I spent probably the next 3 to 6 months researching it to see, is this legitimate or is it something that's just going to come and go? After understanding a bit more about the implementation of Bitcoin, it was quite clear to me that this is something that's not going away. And I then went about investigating, well, how does it work? How do I send a transaction across the blockchain? And how do I know my money is going to arrive? Once I was confident that my money was not going to be lost, I decided to jump right in. But it did take me about 6 months of research before I felt fully comfortable. So, which is just a factor. And I'm somebody who's fairly tech savvy and has a long background in the tech industry. So I can imagine how the cryptocurrency and blockchain is an area that still holds a fair bit of mystery for people who are not tech savvy.
What is it about Bitcoin that makes it so attractive?
To me,
and also, what, there's a lot of resistance to it. So what is it that makes it so attractive, and what are those things that cause some of the resistance?
Yeah, I think there's two things to that. One is something that is definitely true about Bitcoin. The other is, I think, that is somewhat of a misconception. The bit that is true is the fact that if you've stored your cryptocurrency and your Bitcoin on a wallet and secured your keys, it's pretty darn difficult for somebody to take that off you, be that somebody who's trying to steal from you or the government. So that there's an element of safety in holding it. A bit easier to store than if you were to hang on to a block of gold. You need to put it in a safe or store it at a bank. If the bank gets robbed, you're in trouble. Or if your house gets broken into, you're in trouble. A bit more security with Bitcoin. The misconception is that it's anonymous. So I think a lot of people got attracted to it because it's anonymous, and I think the anonymity aspect is a bit of a misnomer. Whenever you enter and exit crypto, you go in, typically, most people do, through regulated exchanges, most of which are sharing information with governments and regulators. So it's, even if from wherever you send your crypto to after going to the exchange, it's fairly easy using data mining tools to work out where the crypto is going to and where it's coming from.
And there's been some recent changes to actually make that even more traceable, right? In terms of what the U.S. government's done, and the OCC, right, with the government basically sanctioning banks so that they can hold crypto. Yeah.
Look, the more entry and exit points you have with banks becoming crypto custodians, the easier and easier it is to track the entry and exit into the crypto market. But
where are the banks then? Are the banks basically trying to push this thing away and say, there's nothing to see here? Are they diving in? How are the banks sort of responding to this, and where do you think that they're going to go with crypto?
Good point, Gerard. I think initially banks were trying to push cryptocurrency and blockchain away. And they did that for a number of years up until this year, to now the point where I think the banks at the forefront of this, such as JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs, are now embracing the technology with open arms, with JP Morgan even launching their own cryptocurrency. So, some people might not call it a cryptocurrency, more of a token in some respects, but regardless, they're jumping into the space now rather than pushing it away.
Do you see a point in the future where essentially all banks or most banks will allow people to deal with digital assets?
Absolutely, and I don't know how quickly that's going to happen, but I don't think it will so much be a matter of banks allowing it. It will be a matter of, if they don't allow it, their business model is going to be in some real trouble.
So then, in terms of adoption, cryptocurrency use, so if the population at large essentially has crypto assets in their bank, do you think that they'll also be using those crypto assets for transactions, like when they go to the grocery store or they go to the gas station?
Yeah, for some of them, yes. Probably not Bitcoin. I do not see that use case for Bitcoin so much, but for others, probably potentially Litecoin's a good example, or even Ripple. But probably more importantly, there are solutions starting to emerge, such as the Fold app, where this allows you to pay for things either using a credit card or Bitcoin, and then you receive reward points. Now, instead of getting frequent flyer miles or shop reward points, you get rewarded directly in Bitcoin. So that is a solution that I think will be more and more attractive to people.
So, so some of our listeners may not be aware of you. A lot of folks are familiar with Bitcoin, but you talked about some other cryptocurrencies. You want to just kind of give just a high level summary of, are there 1, 2, 20, 50, 100 million of these things? Are they all the same? Are they different? You want to just kind of describe the landscape of different cryptocurrency options that potentially are available to people?
Sure. I think so. When you look at the crypto space, there's a number of different categories. There are around 6,000 of them out there at the moment. A lot of people wouldn't call them cryptocurrencies, but I'm just, for the sake of simplicity, I'm just going to say they're all cryptocurrencies. You then have a number of main categories. So we've got I'll just go through from us what we think the top 3 categories are, and there's more categories emerging after that, which I won't go into today. The top 3 is number 1, which is your store of value coin, which I would call Bitcoin. Now, it's seen as a safe pair of hands where you can put your money, effectively treat it as a savings account in some ways. And then the next category, you've got your application platforms, of which Ethereum is a very, very good example. Ethereum, you can essentially spin up an application on the Ethereum, which leverages the Ethereum blockchain to do whichever set of to process anything you like, really. Probably the challenge with it at the moment, it's still in its level of maturity is still fairly low, and you couldn't process enterprise grade apps on it yet, but I'm sure that will happen one day. And then probably the third main category is your value transfer coins. And I think Ripple is a really good example of this. It interacts with the other cryptocurrencies very nicely, and it's very, very rapid for you to send money anywhere or transact using the Ripple blockchain.
And so you mentioned a couple of categories. Within these categories, are there 1, 2, 3, 5, 100? What does that landscape look like?
We've broken them down into six categories. So I've touched on 3. There's another 3. And these other 3 really sit more surrounding onboarding and infrastructure. So those 3, they're a bit more obscure. Probably they're in the emerging space where they're coins that solve and blockchain solutions that solve a particular problem, such as coins that allow you to perform cloud processing at rapid speed, or to store to data storage solutions, or probably one of the better examples is things like Chainlink, which allow you to link different types of blockchain solutions together. So you might be able to leverage the properties of Bitcoin while also leveraging Ethereum and Ripple at the same time to deliver a solution.
So I want to go back to the adoption for a second. So there are lots and lots of different coins out there, right? If banks allow people to hold their digital assets, right, and the banks are regulated, right, by the governments, so that the government has visibility into what people are doing. So you said that it's not anonymous, but then if people start interacting with it, right? So if the gas station and the grocery store and the restaurant down the street, if they all accept cryptocurrency, right, then do I have to essentially convert that to fiat? And if I don't convert it to fiat, I'm not going through a regulated exchange. I mean, do I have to go through a bank if I want to pay for my gas or pay you for let's say you're going to sell me your laptop or your iPad, and I pay you in cryptocurrency. I mean, do I have to go through a bank? Is a bank involved in that transaction, or how does that work?
Yeah, you probably don't have to go through a bank. I think this will determine on your level of comfortability with the technology and how well you understand it. I see a place for banks there in that if you hold your assets with a bank and somebody steals from the bank promises you that they will still give you fair value for those assets. So I think given that banks have just been given the ability to hold custody of cryptocurrency, you might transact in crypto, but you might hold it in bank managed wallets, for example. However, but some people might not want to do that. Some people might, but for most people who just want their lives to be simple, they'll probably leverage the solutions that banks offer, in my opinion.
Got it. And the folks that want to be anonymous, they essentially would then probably just hold it in their own hardware wallet or something like that, right?
Yes. And even then, it's not necessarily anonymous. If you're doing a transaction with somebody whose details have got a known wallet address, then that immediately kind of destroys your anonymity.
Yeah.
That's not to say you can't be, but you have to go to some pretty great lengths to remain anonymous.
Got it. But don't you see that changing over time? I mean, initially, so if you look at right now, most people are going to interact with a regulated exchange to buy and sell their crypto, right? To convert to fiat. But don't you think that sometime down the road, if we all are, if many of us are using crypto, then I mean, other than a bank holding your money, right? I mean, what is the what essentially holds people to the banks?
Yeah, look, that's a very good point, and it's largely because people's salaries get paid into the bank account. That it could change that the place where people's salaries get paid to gets paid to a wallet address. That would not necessarily have to be with the bank, and that, look, you're quite right, that could completely disrupt the bank's model. I still see a place for banks in the lending space, despite all of the technologies that have sprung up in DeFi, which, in my opinion, none of which are particularly good just yet. At the end of the day, banks have spent thousands of years developing a business model to safely lend money to people. And I'm afraid that a technology that's been around for 5 minutes doesn't completely solve all of the problems that banks have been solving for a very long time.
Yeah. Talk to us a little bit about, you mentioned quantitative easing, right? Where, we've had some conversations recently about, I know the U.S. just dropped, $3 trillion, $6 trillion of new money into the money supply. How does that impact cryptocurrency adoption, do you think?
Yeah, look, I think this is a really good example where I had made the choice because of quantitative easing, which was a fairly small scale compared to the small scale of issuing currency and printing money compared to what's going on now. I had made the choice back in 2016 to start, shifting some money into crypto. Now, with even with the Fed choosing to abandon any policy to restrict inflation and just print more money, I only see that putting upward pressure on crypto asset prices. But how that plays on, still the counterpoint to that is, whilst likes of GBA and a lot of the people Morpheus and some of my friends deal with, there's still not a lot of people in mainstream actually going out and adopting crypto, because I think there's still a lot of fear about it and still a lot of distrust. So I think eventually the trillions of dollars that are flowing, being issued, will have an effect to push up crypto prices, but might not happen immediately.
Yeah, it's hard to tell, right? Because what's really fascinating is if you took $1 in 2009 and bought 500 Bitcoins with it, right? That dollar, or if you put it into gold, right? So if you put it into gold, that dollar would probably be worth about $1.30, right? If you left it, if you just put the dollar under your pillow, that dollar would be worth about 85 cents, right? But if you put it in a Bitcoin, that dollar would be worth a little over $4 million today, right? And and that was before we just dumped trillions of dollars of new money into the money supply in 4 months, right? So it's really difficult. It's really difficult to predict, but I think that the underlying pressures continue to push the crypto prices up. And then if you look at what the OCC did by allowing banks to get in that space, the governments are considering doing their own central bank digital currencies, and they're thinking about raising the limits so that so people don't have to pay capital gains tax, gains or losses on transactions under a certain amount. There's no telling how fast. So on one hand, you're completely right? The banks have been solving this thing forever. It's very deep ingrained. I mean, all of our paradigms are how banks work now. But at the same time, this thing could happen lightning fast. And what are your thoughts in terms of does this transition, do you think, happen sort of slowly, gradually over time? Or do you think that there might be some kind of a black swan type event?
Yeah, I see it still happening slowly, gradually over time, because the technology is just not mature enough yet to handle traditional retail volumes. We see this with Ethereum right now. Ethereum had a price spike a year high about a month ago, and then fell off that. And the reason it fell off was because the Ethereum gas prices, the prices at which miners get for processing Ethereum transactions, got so high that there's so much traffic on the Ethereum network that you couldn't settle DeFi finance transactions. And then we saw a pullback. Now that problem hasn't been solved yet, and I don't think even Ethereum 2.0, the new version of Ethereum, will fully solve that either. So I think I still see there being quite a long way to go to where crypto has the transaction processing capability to deal with traditional banking problems. But that will happen. When that point happens, I think I see the crypto world being adopted very rapidly, but we're just not there yet.
Well, so that's great for potential investors, right? That want to get in this space, that don't know a whole lot about this space, right? So tell us a little bit, and now I think we're starting to move into your space. You guys are involved in giving investors the tools they need, right, in order to successfully navigate this space. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do, how you help people, what sort of things you look for, and if somebody was going to engage with you, like what does that typically look like?
Sure. So the main thing Morpheus is working on at the moment is a cryptocurrency dashboards project. And what this is it's a set of simplified visual tools to help you understand what's going on in the crypto space at the moment. At the moment, we've got a free product that we operate, which you can find at www.morpheusanalytics.com. You can go on, sign up for that for nothing at this point. We are going to be launching some more advanced tools in the future, but at this point, we've kind of got something out there that people can just see and get their hands on and touch and see what it's about. But basically, it's trying to make it simple and pull together a number of different sources in one place, and so that people can really learn about the crypto and blockchain space and kind of be their one-stop shop for getting a simple view of where the crypto market and blockchain adoption is at.
So the kinds of information that would be on that dashboard would be what? The listing of different types of assets, predictions, things like that?
So, look, in the future, we might look at predictions, that kind of thing. But right at this point, it really gives you a clear view of the top 30 cryptos, where they're at. Overall, gives you a view of overall market sentiment, a summary of news in the crypto space, a summary of what blockchain events are coming up, and a summary of announcements made by various crypto projects, and as well some more technical tools for you to inspect various elements of the blockchain, such as transaction processing speed, transaction processing prices, i.e., how much does it cost for a miner to process what is the fee for a miner to process a Bitcoin transaction? How many wallets are there? All that kind of thing. So it got a few tools there to give you quite a good set of info around what's happening in the crypto space.
What about sort of like training and education, right? So I would imagine that the information on the dashboard helps you be able to make those kinds of decisions. But a lot of people would look at this and say, okay, well, there's an event coming up. It's a halving or something like that, but they may not know how to interpret those events into investment decisions, right? So, do you guys have anything like that? Is that on the horizon? What goes on in terms of helping to educate people?
Absolutely. Look, there's definitely going to be more content we publish on our website on those topics in the near future. We've drafted a number of papers already, which help in educating surrounding those things. But in addition, we've got a newsletter we send out each month, which really does cover. Really, it's a very educational newsletter, and if you go to our website, you can sign up for that, and you'll get a bit of info each month on new projects that are happening and what developments are happening in the crypto and blockchain space.
All right, so let me sort of summarize real quick. So you believe that the cryptocurrency space continues to grow and expand, not cataclysmically, but a more measured amount. You've got tools and analytical information to help people identify maybe which cryptocurrencies are going to grow faster, slower, what's going to happen with them to help them make investment decisions. And you got information coming out. So for the individual, your tool seems like it would be very helpful to help somebody manage their personal finances, right? What about from the government perspective, right? Are governments looking at these kinds of indicators, and how does making this information accessible, does it have any benefit to sort of government or financial people in financial leadership?
Oh, definitely. I think some of the information we're collecting surrounds, a lot of it looks on cryptocurrency adoption, and I think that's definitely one of the number one things governments want to get their heads around. Like, how quickly is this space being adopted so that they can respond with regulation. In addition, we're capturing things surrounding what's happening in the startup investment space in cryptocurrency and blockchain. And when you start to dive into that data and see where that money is flowing investment-wise, that gives you some pretty good insights into where things are going. So I think there's definitely a lot of information that's being collected, that we're collecting as well, that can be of use to governments.
So a lot of different governments have different sort of regulatory schemes on how they're dealing with things, right? And
yes,
are you guys also capturing information about what countries and what's going on in the regulation space?
Loosely, we're capturing that at the moment. There's probably not as many easily accessible data sources on that, but it's definitely a focus for us because that definitely tells you where the best countries are to operate in the space are, and which countries are not the best. And look, I would have to say a couple of good examples of what's happening around the world at the moment. If you look at Japan, they've embraced things with open arms. Germany have embraced things with open arms as well. Letting banks be custodians not so long ago, and of course, I think what's starting to happen in the States is being very very supportive of crypto. Like with recently, I remember state regulators deciding to standardize their approach to regulating cryptocurrency and fintech firms.
Well, we still have a long way to go in that area. We certainly do. It's interesting. I've got a call in a couple of days with the German government, and we're inviting a whole host of dignitaries from Japan to our event in March. So we're seeing the same kind of enthusiasm in those parts of the world, which is really cool. So you and I have got to know each other through GBA. Walk us through a little bit about how you found out about GBA, your initial contact, and what your experience has been with GBA.
Yeah, sure. Look, found out about GBA through a person who attended a Morpheus launch event for the cryptocurrency dashboards. That was Ted Smiley from QESP. They're a society that kind of a computer society that focus on technology developments. He kind of introduced me to what GBA was doing, and then kind of obviously, Gerard, you and I had a call, and Morpheus got involved in one of the working groups there, and ever since I've been involved in the working groups, I've found it one of the most encouraging association that I've encountered in the crypto and blockchain space since I've been involved in the sector. I have seen a lot of meetups which are really people are enthusiastic about the space, but there's no real meat on the bones as such. Whereas in the GBA, I think you've just brought together quite an incredible group of individuals who, some of which are just some of the foremost experts in blockchain in the world, and you've got some participants from government in there as well who are also very influential. So I think you've really got a group of people who have really got their finger on the pulse in terms of what's happening blockchain-wise. And I just love being involved in with the association.
Well, David, I have to say something. When I stumbled across you guys, you were a target of mine because I was like, wow, these guys bring so much value to the table, and you are very smart, and you guys have done a lot of research, and you have a lot of assets. And do you want to tell me just a little bit about the project? A little bit about the project you're working on in the in your particular working group.
In the working group.
Yeah, the one that you're doing with Sinya
yeah. So look, we're basically providing input into a paper that's going to be presented to Congress. This is really about the impact of adoption of cryptocurrencies and blockchain on government. And yeah, we're contributing to that paper and pulling together various metrics that Morpheus collect and pulling things into some pictorials as well to help simplify the explanation of how adoption of this technology will impact governments. And that's been an excellent exercise so far. There's just some great input into that paper, and I think it's going to be very informative.
Yeah, and what's amazing is we're looking at data sources like you've been doing, and connecting all the dots, right, and then giving leaders globally sort of that crystal ball look into the future. In terms of how fast is this train moving, and is the bridge out, and putting together recommendations. So I think that this is probably one of the most valuable projects that we're working on. We've got some other we have about 50 working groups, and I would say 5 or 6 of them have projects that are just stellar. Actually, we have a brand new space working group, which is kind of cool. But David, this has been awesome. I'm so grateful that you agreed to do this, and I would tell anybody who's listening to this podcast, if you really want world quality, access to information and data about where this cryptocurrency thing is going. Now, David and I don't agree about everything, right? So we have our healthy dialogues and debates, but it's unquestionable that the data that they're able to collect and present is spot on. And then how you interpret the data and where you think it's going to go, and those tend to be opinions. But in a world right now where everybody's giving you their opinions and it's so hard to get data, Morpheus Analytics is a phenomenal source. So you want to give them that website once again? And of course, we'll put all this information in the show notes. Sure. How people can get in touch with you.
Website's www.morpheusanalytics.com. And I'll just touch on one thing to talk about, which kind of talks to the strength of GBA there as well. Yeah, the fact that Gerard and I don't necessarily agree on everything. And I would say in the working groups, not everybody agrees all the time as well. It creates this great, healthy environment to debate topics and then come up with a response. So I actually think that's a really good thing, that not everyone agrees all the time. www.morpheusanalytics.com is the location you can go to, and you can find me on LinkedIn. So just for David Auton, and also my email, david.auton@morpheusanalytics.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And then if you haven't already, please check out gbaglobal.org. In fact, on the homepage, you should see some information about a big event that we have coming up in March of 2021 called The Future of Money Governance and Law during Government Blockchain Week. So we'll be bringing leaders from all over the world to come and talk about some of these things. So, David, again, thank you so much. And to To all our listeners, we'll catch you on the next episode. The Future of Money Governance and the Law is brought to you by the Government Blockchain Association, or GBA. The podcast brings together leaders in the public and private sector to discuss how government and industry can work together. We talk about how to enhance the integrity of our institutions and the quality of life for the people they serve.